AI in Action is brought to you by Fast Slow Motion. Our team helps growing businesses put AI to work with practical, scalable solutions. To learn more about how we can help you implement AI in your business, visit fastslowmotion.com/AI. Hey, welcome back to AI in Action. I'm Eric Housh, joined as always by the one and only Zack Terry, Fast Slow Motion's Director of AI.
I'm so excited for this episode. We got some great guests. Can't wait.
Yeah, our guests, Peter, Inge, and Will Blackburn, these guys are pretty legendary in our hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, co-founders of DevClarity, and their expertise is in AI coding tools, especially in the context of private equity-backed tech companies. And so these guys have had a front row seat to how AI is shaping software development and adoption. Super excited to dig in on that. Also going to hear a little bit about Birmingham AI. This is an actual community that Will founded that's grown into one of the most active AI meetups in the Southeast. I understand that they're over 400 members now. They're busting out of the seams. They're doing now a breakout strategy. Just really exciting stuff for my hometown. But first, let's tee up a few of the big developments across the AI landscape. And I'd love to tee these up and just kind of see what Will and Peter think of these. Will and Peter, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
To be here.
OpenAI always making news. No exception this week. So a couple of huge things there. Plus Gartner's new AI hype cycle. Can't wait to dig into that. Let's talk first GPT Pulse.
Yeah, the OpenAI news has really just gone crazy over the past few days. But Pulse, if you have a pulse on the AI industry, you've definitely heard about this. And this is OpenAI's foray into a news feed type of component with ChatGPT. And so it's basically a proactive AI assistant that can work overnight to deliver personalized briefings based on your chat history, your connected accounts like Gmail and calendar integrations. It's going out to pro users for $200 a month. And I think this is an interesting paradigm shift for AI that anticipates versus waiting for you to actually prompt it. It can push those notifications to you. So that's interesting. But I also think this is a potential foray into advertising for ChatGPT. So this may be how they open up some additional revenue sources.
Yeah, it's I want to chime in here. So I actually have the pro membership and I've used this over the past week. And so many new features or tools come out. There's a lot of hype about everything. I always think about like what am I using? And this is a feature that I've used every single day since it came out, which honestly caught me by surprise. I didn't think I was going to use it, but it just is really good. Like it really is. I went in there and I added in some of my interest, but it's also, paying attention to my conversations I've had. And I was talking about a book a few days ago. And then today, when I opened up ChatGPT, I asked another question, I resolved that. And then I saw my pulse. And sure enough, it had like surfaced a couple more things about the conversation that I had a couple days ago. And it was super interesting. And I'm a fan. So
that's awesome. It sounds like you went in with some metered expectations and were pleasantly surprised by how useful it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seems so simple. It's like, aren't there other newsletters out there like this? But it just works and it works well.
Awesome. I love to hear that.
That's
Yeah,
good
and
stuff.
particularly in a space like AI where things are changing so rapidly, like it's a little bit meta, but using Pulse to keep up with AI itself can be effective. Obviously, it's early days. I haven't used it that much myself yet, but that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know I use AI to tell me about AI and the things that are going on. So even these news topics, I'm using AI to help me go and find those topics and discover what to talk about. So awesome. Well, moving on to the next one. So more OpenAI news. The Stargate infrastructure project just continues to expand. So they have opened their flagship data center in Abilene, Texas, which is a part of that $500 billion Stargate project. They've got 5 more of these planned in the future. This is the first one to open, and they're trying to scale this to 1 gigawatt of capacity, which sounds like a Back to the Future reference to me, 1 gigawatt, which is enough to power 750,000 homes. That's an incredible amount of energy. We talked about it before. Stargate is the biggest AI infrastructure project in history. Eric, what do you think about this?
I mean, I'm just going back and forth, man. Like, is this what it's going to take going forward, or are we approaching bubble territory here? Like, is Peter? Will, what are your thoughts here?
I think if you like look back throughout technology, and Peter often says this is we tend to overestimate the impact or the needs in the short term, but underestimate them over the long term. And so when we think about like the energy needs and what this energy is going to bring us and what our lives are going to look like in the future, we probably have no idea what it's truly gonna look like in 10, 20 years from today. So maybe we're in a local bubble, but if we zoom out over the next 40 years, we're going to be well below the peaks of wherever we end up.
Yeah, and
Love
for the
that.
record, that one's called Amara's Law by a guy named Roy Amara. And yeah, one thing that's interesting to me, one of my first jobs actually was as an investment analyst, but I was in the energy sector, and it's like very clear that despite all the time that we spend thinking about and talking about technology, like the things that are being most talked about, or at least equivalently talked about, are the physical assets needed, which is the power itself. So clean energy has become more and more relevant to fuel this, and then the physical hardware, like the chips needed to run this technology.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you're interacting with these tools. I mean, it's just you and a computer screen, or it might not even be you chatting at all. It could just be happening in the background. So I think we kind of lose sight of the massive investment and the actual energy needs and the things that have to go into this in the physical world to make it work. So it's crazy to see this scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. This is a quick hit. We don't have to stay on this one for very long, but also with OpenAI, we got Sora 2, their next generation AI assisted video editor, just came out, and the capabilities seem pretty great based on some of the samples I've seen. Have you seen some of these videos? What do you think about the capabilities of this next version of ChatGPT's video generator?
Yeah, I can start there. Yeah, pretty interesting. I don't know. Have y'all had a chance to talk about Nano Banana on the
Oh, yeah.
podcast? Okay. So it's like everything, there's just so many new models, and each one kind of has its space, like its area where it does a good job with video generation. So Sora, one of the like original leaders in just like, let me go from text to a video being created out of thin air. It seems that like they've just even improved what they have with this latest version. Very realistic, humans that are being shown in these videos. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, and what I've been impressed with, and I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but it generates the audio too, and it does a really good job with the audio, which has always been an issue that I've run into, and I've been working with these video editors. Is I'll try to generate something and tell the audience to boo, and the audience is doing like a thumbs down, but it's like, yeah, I'm like, that is not at all what I told them to do. So I'm glad to see some improvements coming there. All right, one last news story. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Not a whole lot to say or add to that, other than saying I think in the not distant future, a lot of this will be indistinguishable from reality. Like when you consider the acceleration curve that this stuff is going down, like the difference in images that are generated now versus 1 year ago versus 2 years ago. Like ChatGPT got released publicly basically 3 years ago. And in that amount of time, we now have like hyper realistic photo, video, audio, etc. So like it has some interesting kind of like broader societal and philosophical implications when you think about how good this is getting and how quickly it's getting done.
Definitely a little scary, especially it's really bringing back that conversation that I think we all had in the early 2010s about deepfakes and, the danger that presented. And then I think we found that, it really wasn't there. The technology wasn't quite there. There was that uncanny valley. It was really easy to tell which ones were fake. And now it's very difficult to tell.
Yeah,
So,
there's some tools that are specifically good at mimicking people's voices. And so it's like, it's getting
And
a little
that's
bit.
a feature of Sora. Like you can actually share your avatar with people, so you can give people permission to make videos with you in them. So yeah, the possibilities there will be very entertaining once that thing hits the mass market.
yeah, maybe that means some of these VR glasses will actually have usable AI avatars now.
Yeah, and this may end up maybe too early in the conversation, but this might end up segueing a little bit well into kind of our business and the nature of businesses in general, which is like in a world where all of those things are true, trust becomes extremely valuable because it's hard to validate things. And so having trusted advisors in any aspect, which certainly you all can understand at FSM, becomes even more important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Trust is everything, especially in a world where you can't trust the things we've trusted for the past few decades on the internet, right? It's really changing kind of the importance of relationship and conversation. All right, so we got one last story to hit. And this is the latest Gartner Hype Cycle report. They did a 2025 report on the AI hype cycle. And they are reporting, to no surprise to anyone that's been paying attention, that the fastest advancing segments are AI agents and AI-ready data, with 57% of organizations reporting that their data is not AI-ready. So obviously a very big focus there is getting that data ready. And then at the peak of inflated expectations, I love that term, is multimodal AI. And they're predicting this should reach mainstream adoption within 5 years. I think it might be faster than that. I feel like I'm using multimodal AI almost every day to look at documents and images. So what do you think about this? Do you think that Gartner is right about where it's placing some of these AI tools? What do you think about Gartner's AI hype cycle?
Yeah, it's tough to know. Like, I think when we get inside of companies and we say, like, all right, what tools are you using, and what have you made available to people? And then what action has actually changed? We see a couple things. One, we still see so many companies talking about like licensing and like what tools available. And so while the technology might be further ahead, it just seems like this governance, security, compliance question is just like holding back so much actual usage of the good tools that are out there. And then on the other side of things, maybe the tools are available, but you haven't given your employees a reason to change their behavior. And behavior change is hard, it's painful, and it takes time to learn the new behavior that we want to adopt. So while I would say the tooling is further ahead, we've seen firsthand just how difficult it is to get the tools into your company and then actually have your employees adopt new workflows that use the tools in the right way.
Cool. Well, thanks for walking through those news items with us. That's always a fun part of the show. And the fact that, we talk about the news on Monday, and by the time it's Friday morning, we're talking about, completely different topics. So let's pivot to your own story. Tell us about, you guys co-founded DevClarity, again, here in Birmingham, Alabama. What sparked the idea behind the company? What were you seeing in the market where you said there's a problem we need to help companies solve here?
Yeah, so happy to kind of walk through that a little bit. So Will and I were previously, Will was CTO and I was CFO of a Birmingham-based fintech company called Nextsoft. We did acquired and grew a number of different businesses under that banner, but primarily we're helping with small and mid-sized banks and credit unions across the United States with APIs and middleware. And we went through this process and evolution of building, growing, and scaling the software company. Will was employee number one, developer number one. I was kind of the first finance hire, and we scaled it. We took on private equity capital, and we ended up selling it in December of 22. And over that period of time, we'd kind of gone through this crazy phase of growth via acquisition and organic growth. We'd gone through COVID, we had gone through a lot of different things. And after we sold the company, we were reflecting back on the challenges we had faced in scaling Nextsoft. We kept coming back to this broad area of engineering management, which is like, how do you drive the highest performance software engineering teams? As a CTO and a CFO of a software company, the thing that matters most is the developers on your team. And so we kept coming back to that question. As all good startups do, we had started off with some hypotheses that we're testing and iterating and built some product and got early customers, et cetera. But along the way, it became very clear to us that the most tangible way to drive high performance engineering teams was to leverage AI coding tools well. And this is where I can let Will tell more of his specific story here, because he's the one that really driving that. But that evolution kind of happened organically for us, to where we were leveraging these tools really heavily ourselves, being a small team, a startup, trying to figure out how we could be most efficient and effective, which led to other companies wanting to learn about how to do that, which led to us realizing hey, this is an area with massive demand and massive need. And it evolved to what we are today, which, as you mentioned in the intro, at DevClarity, we help particularly private equity-backed tech companies systematically leverage AI coding tools. But I'll let Will talk a little bit about his experience kind of getting into that, because that was the catalyst.
Yeah. So when we started DevClarity, we wanted to ship software products. We wanted to ship them fast. And the challenge was I was the only developer at our company. And so I was asking myself, like, how could I operate like a team of 3, a team of 5, a team of 10? And, ChatGPT had been out for a while, and GitHub Copilot, really the first coding tool that came to market, had also been in like an open beta. And so we were experimenting with that. And then just as I kept programming, I just kept up with the tools. And I said, like, how can I continue to figure out how to use these tools well? And honestly, in the early days, it was difficult. The AI models weren't as good as they are today. The tooling wasn't as advanced as it is, and but we stuck with it, and really because we were highly incentivized to do so. There was reason for us to figure out these tools, and over the course of about a year, we finally did figure it out. We figured out how to use the tools in the right way to get great code output, to write our applications fast. The models got better, the tooling got better, and then we started to expand our team and teach other developers how to use the tools well, which led into the opportunity that Peter just walked us through.
Private equity highly incentivizing people to use AI. I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, it's funny because like we had the experience in our last role of being private equity owned, and we saw a lot of the positives of being to say of saying, here's some cash, let's figure out how to grow efficiently. And so when we started to decide, like, hey, who should we focus on when like really every company now is a software technology company. So we, DevClarity, could say, we help everybody, whether you have 2 developers or 10,000 developers, come and talk to us. We recognize that, hey, if we're able to focus, we're going to be able to serve a select group of people more, and we're going to be able to deliver more value to them. And so it was natural for us to say, hey, this experience that we had, let's put these 2 things together. And when you've got companies that are incentivized to grow effectively, and we could bring in some good AI coding tools, like this is going to be a match made in heaven. We're going to be able to help these teams move forward and accomplish their goals. And it's going to help us be able to focus on a particular customer at the same time.
I'm curious, as you guys are talking with business leaders about AI, what usually gets their attention the most?
It's a good question. I mean, honestly, a lot of the conversations we're having today, and then this is like I've spent the last couple of years kind of obsessively kind of working through how do you identify true customer demand? Because as a startup, like that's really the only thing that matters. In the 0 to 1 phase, the only thing that matters is understanding true demand. And you know when you have it, and you know, and you can kind of feel when you don't. But once you have it, you know you have it, like the coveted kind of like product market fit. I say all of that to say, like, we're not doing a whole lot of convincing. It's not a scenario where it's like we say something like, oh, wow, I didn't think about it that way. Like the essence of the truest demand is someone already has an objective and you're helping facilitate them and get to that place. So while there are things I can mention and answer the question directly, I will say at a high level, most of the people we're working with like realize that this could be massively impactful, but they just don't know where to start because kind of to some of Will's earlier comments, like the technology is very good and it's getting better by the day. The challenge, as it has always been, is human behavioral change. And that's where it's hard to know, like, okay, we might have some people who are really good at AI coding tools, but how do you effectively deploy that across an organization with 50 developers or 500 developers?
This is a little bit of an off the wall question, but it just got me thinking because obviously you focus a lot on AI powered development and you are yourselves developers, you're experts there. So where do you stand on this concept of vibe coding? And I'm not talking about like paired coding with AI. I'm talking about non-developers being able to create things using these tools, the quality of which is questionable sometimes, but obviously there's a lot of power there. So I'm just curious about your opinion of vibe coding in general.
Yeah, good question. I feel like Peter should get to answer this as someone who's more traditionally non-technical than myself, though Peter is very technical at this point. But I'll start. So what I would say is, like, I think it's great. I think the fact that more people can create applications, can go build themselves a tool for this very specific use case that they need solved or that they're really opinionated about is amazing. And then as a developer, I'm not that concerned about the future of my job or the need for developers in the future either, just because there's more code that's being written than ever before. Something that we talk about when we go in and help development teams learn how to use these tools is that the impact that an expert can make is greater than ever, and that's something that I believe in across AI, which is at the beginning of this year, I said, 2025 is the year for the expert. If you're already a software developer, now the way that the agents are coming out and you can use these tools, you can go and run laps around a former version of yourself, much, much more someone who's not technical at all. If you are a great marketer, yeah, sure, I can have ChatGPT spit out a marketing plan, and that's helpful to me if I'm not a great marketer, but someone who is can go and do so much more with AI now as the expert. So vibe coding is great. I love seeing more and more people get technical and build solutions for themselves. On the other end, I want developers to understand that the impact that they can have is also greater than ever.
Yeah, and I think the essence of what Will's saying effectively is just like this is a tool. Like it's a tool that can be applied, and there's leverage associated with various tools. And like certain people can handle sharp swords very well, or axes or shovels or whatever. Like you have to be equipped. So like, it's a tool, and like I think that's one thing that is important to say because we can personify AI sometimes, we can ascribe judgments to it, good or bad. It's a tool. And so you can use it well, you can use it poorly, you can use it with discipline and intentionality, or you can use it sloppily. And the results of the tool will depend on that. And so I think it's a very positive thing, like a net positive for sure, because it's eliminating a barrier that allows people who haven't had the same like education or experience to express themselves. Like it's just like if you knew all the languages in the world one day, like there's no negative side of that. Of course, if someone's creating a product and is going into like the marketplace and you're selling it, you absolutely need to be careful to make sure it's like properly secure and has high quality, et cetera. But most of the time, that's not what we're talking about. Most of the time, we're talking about like product folks trying to visualize things, or people just trying to get ideas on paper, or a lot of SaaS apps that have been really successful last decade are not that complicated. Like not all problems require complicated solutions. And so it's great for that. If you're getting into like enterprise grade software, like there's no threat that vibe coders are taking any jobs, but at least it can help people who are maybe on the more non-technical spectrum articulate what they're trying to bring into the world in a more effective way.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the phrase like complex is difficult and simple is hard. So it's really hard to build something that's simple but serves a really good purpose. And then I love, Will, I love what you said about the year of the expert, because I think it may have been Ethan Mollick that said this. His name comes up a lot here. We like a lot of his content.
Yeah,
but,
nice.
I think he mentioned something about the people that stand to benefit the most from AI are the non-experts. But I think we're seeing that kind of change a little bit here, because really it's become clear that, yeah, if you don't know a lot about a topic, you can use AI to absolutely accelerate your learning if you do it in the right way, right? But I think being an expert gives you the ability to reach that like extra 10% at the top, right? Like you can really take that so much farther. And I don't know if that's something that you resonate with, but I really do think that experts really have the ability to multiply. And then if you're not an expert, you're a beginner, you have the ability to create this ecosystem to learn in ways that maybe you didn't have access to.
Yeah, exactly. Like Peter said, it's a tool. It's going to benefit everybody. And so, like it's just amazing. But I'll love to like double click on what you said about simple is hard, because that brings us to something else that we talk a lot about with AI, which is just how much more important judgment is in this world of AI now. When you're using these tools, do you have the understanding? Do you have the judgment to be thinking through like what is the right simple solution that solves the problem at the end of the day, whatever problem we're trying to solve, if it's a personal problem or another problem? And it's something that with Birmingham AI, we're telling our community members to be thinking about is how are you cultivating your judgment? How are you cultivating your skills of discernment around how should I use this tool? Where should I use it? What should I have it produce for me? Just because that's, like you said, simple is hard. And when you understand a subject well enough to get to the simple solution at the end of the day that does solve everybody's problem, that's what's going to make you valuable inside your organization or outside of it.
Discernment's a great word. I love that.
Yeah, and we can get off this topic. Well, we think about the topic of mastery a lot, and so we could talk about this for a long time. But it's like, how do you get discernment? We get it through experience, and that's where they talk about being an expert, being able to leverage that. But then how do you get experience? You get experience through feedback loops and iteration, repetition, and that's where AI can help. Like in something as discrete as software development, which is very logic driven, where you can see what's happening, get immediate feedback. You can use AI to massively accelerate the learning curve to help you get that experience. It's not the same, of course, of like being a professional software developer, but I guess my point is it helps on both sides of the equation. Like for those who already have experience, when they use the tool well, it can amplify their impact. But for those either at the beginning, whether engineering or some other field, it can massively accelerate the learning curve.
Guys, so far we've talked about AI and organizations and adoption a lot, and the great work that you're doing there. I kind of want to circle back to Birmingham AI. Like, where did that idea come from? Why do you believe in kind of investing in Birmingham's AI landscape?
Yeah. So I can't take the credit for this one. My co-founder of Birmingham AI, his name is Austin Sinsman. He's an entrepreneur here in Birmingham, and we got lunch one day. And we both realized that our wives were tired of hearing us talk about AI so much. And so we said, hey, there's not a meetup group here in Birmingham. Let's create one, and let's find other people whose significant others don't want them just blabbering on about the latest in AI. And so ChatGPT had come out, a few months before this, and just said, hey, let's start doing this. And really from there, it's been grassroots, community led. And what I mean by that is we expected 15, 20 people to show up to the first event, and 65 people showed up to the first event in person here in Birmingham, Alabama. And it just became obvious that we should invest more time and resources into this. And now, 2 years later, we have 300 people show up every single month in person to events. And we aim to raise that by breaking out into engineering or marketing, different groups, and just continuing to invest back into Birmingham.
And we've got a lot of listeners to the show that are in Birmingham, so this may be news to them, probably not. But how can they find you on the web and get involved in this community?
Yeah. So you can find us at birminghamai.org, where you can see a list of our events. And so we meet once a month with our general meetup. And this is at the Innovation Depot. There's good parking. We'll feed you lunch. It's a free event. Come network with people and hear more about AI. And then also check out our breakout groups. You'll find those on the website as well. We've got engineering, finance, nonprofit. We're starting up a marketing one and an HR one. So there's different areas where if you want to go deeper into your industry or your vertical, there's an opportunity for that.
Great stuff. And how, for the business leaders that are listening out there, and maybe we've piqued their interest talking about DevClarity, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you're in Birmingham, it should be real easy. It's a relatively small group of people, so there's a way to find us. But you can just go to devclarity.ai. It's our website.
That's so cool. Well, Peter, Will, any final thoughts for us?
Okay, I always have something I say, which is use the tech. And we talked about that earlier. Peter talked about how do you become a master or understand how you should use your discernment, and it's through repeated action. And so another thing we say is earn the right to have an opinion. And so by using the technology, by downloading ChatGPT on your phone, talking to it, understanding what it's good at, what it's bad at, playing around with developer tools if you're a developer, or marketing tools if you're in marketing, you will start to form an opinion about where this technology is today and where it's going. And so use the tech.
I love it. I especially earn the right to have an opinion. That's great.
Yeah, I'm definitely stealing that one. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for the conversation today. And if you're watching the show and you want to figure out where AI fits in your business, give us a call or find us on the web, fastslowmotion.com/AI. We'll see you next time.
Thank y'all. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.